What if R2-D2 was the chosen one discovered in Episode 1? The Force works in mysterious ways, but never before had the Jedi Council been this confused. Part 1. The Discovery on Naboo. Theed Palace was under siege. As the Queen's starship attempted its daring escape, a squad of astromech droids rolled onto the hull to perform emergency repairs. Most were blasted away within seconds. Only one remained. Beeping defiantly as he sealed the damaged hull, the small blue and white droid managed to stabilize the ship long enough to make the jump to hyperspace. R2-D2, the Queen's handmaiden, read from the service records. "You are quite the brave little droid." But it was Qui-Gon Jinn who felt something different. The moment he set eyes on R2, he sensed a strange ripple in the Force. Something ancient, something powerful. The Jedi Master knelt before the astromech, his expression serious. There is something unusual about this droid. Obi-Wan raised an eyebrow. "Master, it's a repair unit." Qui-Gon shook his head. "No, it is more. I must bring him before the Council." R2-D2 beeped, panicked in protest. He was just doing his job. The Jedi Council's greatest debate. At the Jedi Temple, Qui-Gon presented R2-D2 to the High Council. Mace Windu leaned forward, staring. "You're telling me this droid is the chosen one? The prophecy speaks of one who will bring balance to the Force," Qui-Gon insisted. "This unit's actions have already saved many lives, and I can feel something within him." Yoda hummed, rubbing his chin. "The Force. Strong in this one it may be, but midichlorians inside a droid, there are none." Obi-Wan crossed his arms. "Master, with all due respect, this is ridiculous." Qui-Gon, undeterred, activated a scanner. "Observe." He pointed at R2's circuits. "His motivator core is unlike any we've seen. I believe the Force flows through it." R2-D2, unsure of what was happening, let out a nervous beep. Mace sighed. "Qui-Gon, if you are seriously suggesting training a droid as a Jedi, But Yoda, eyes narrowed, waved his hand. "Test we must." R2 beeped in alarm as 2 Jedi Knights carried him off to the training chambers. The midichlorian incident. As the Jedi Council remained skeptical about Qui-Gon's belief in R2-D2's Force sensitivity, the ever-persistent Jedi Master insisted on proving his theory through a scientific approach. Back in his quarters, Qui-Gon carefully unrolled a small kit containing a sterile syringe, a few vials, and a midichlorian testing scanner. Obi-Wan stood nearby, arms crossed, visibly unimpressed. "Master, I have to ask, what exactly are you planning to do?" Qui-Gon didn't look up. "The same test I performed on young Anakin. A simple midichlorian count will reveal if the Force flows through this droid." Obi-Wan blinked, exhaling slowly. "You do realize that's a droid, right? As in, he has no blood?" Qui-Gon gave his apprentice a calm, serene nod. "Which is why I must be creative." R2-D2, sensing something strange, beeped suspiciously. Qui-Gon turned to the little astromech. "Relax, my friend. This will be painless." Obi-Wan groaned. "Oh, Force, you're really doing this." Without hesitation, Qui-Gon reached for one of R2-D2's exposed panels and, using the Force, delicately opened it. A series of blinking lights and circuits greeted him. He took out the syringe and hesitated. He poked at a random tube. Nothing happened. Obi-Wan pinched the bridge of his nose. "Master, you cannot extract a blood sample from a droid." Qui-Gon ignored him, shifting tactics. "Perhaps oil is the key." R2-D2 beeped in alarm as Qui-Gon carefully removed a small amount of lubricant from his inner systems and deposited it into the midichlorian scanner. Obi-Wan sighed. This is embarrassing. Qui-Gon stared at the scanner as it beeped in Word, analyzing the contents of the sample. A long pause followed. Then, the device pinged. A number flashed onto the screen. 20,000. Obi-Wan gasped. His hand trembled. The same count as Anakin, he whispered. But how? Obi-Wan's mouth fell open. That's impossible. That thing is reading motor oil. There's no way. Qui-Gon spun towards his apprentice, eyes full of excitement. Don't you see, Obi-Wan? He is beyond organic limitations. The Force flows, not in blood, but in mechanisms. Obi-Wan took a deep breath. Or the scanner is broken. R2-D2, now more interested, let out an inquisitive beep. Qui-Gon smiled, placing a reverent hand on the astromech. The Force works in mysterious ways, my little friend. At that moment, Mace Windu stormed in, clearly annoyed. Qui-Gon, what the criff are you doing? Qui-Gon turned the scanner toward him. I have definitive proof. This droid has a midichlorian count of 20,000. Mace Windu stared at the number. His jaw clenched. His expression darkened. He snatched the device, examined it for a long moment, then promptly threw it against the wall, smashing it into many pieces. That doesn't even make sense! R2-D2 let out a smug beep of superiority. Obi-Wan sighed. Well, now you've done it, Master. Yoda, overhearing the commotion, waddled into the room, looking between the stunned Jedi and the beeping droid. He took one look at R2-D2, then nodded solemnly. Mysterious, the Force is. Obi-Wan screamed into his hands. R2-D2, the Padawan who rolled. Despite skepticism, proved remarkably adept at Jedi training. The first major breakthrough came when the Council tested his Force abilities. When given an impossible puzzle, rearranging floating holocrons in a pattern, a strange thing happened. The pieces moved, but no one had seen R2-D2 use his manipulator arm. The Force, Qui-Gon whispered. He's using the Force. Mace Windu remained skeptical. Or he has a built-in repulsor lift we didn't account for. Regardless, Yoda allowed the training to continue. R2-D2 developed a unique Jedi combat style. Instead of wielding a lightsaber traditionally, he modified his dome to house a spinning double-bladed plasma emitter. In battle, he rolled at high speeds, whirling like a buzzsaw, deflecting blaster fire and slicing enemies apart. Even Yoda was impressed. Like a blender he fights, the Grand Master admitted. Obi-Wan, meanwhile, had fully given up trying to understand anything anymore. The Phantom Menace changes forever. When Darth Maul ambushed Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan on Naboo, the battle unfolded very differently. As Maul ignited his double-bladed saber, R2-D2 blasted forward at full speed, launching himself into a deadly spinning attack. Sparks flew as astromech and Sith clashed. Maul, caught off guard by the whirling menace, struggled to keep up. R2-D2 screeched as his spinning blades forced the Sith back. At one point, Maul attempted a force push. R2-D2 skidded backward slightly, beeped in annoyance, then retaliated by electrocuting Maul's shin. Qui-Gon, standing to the side, nodded. See, I told you he was the chosen one. Obi-Wan rubbed his temples. Master, this is insanity. The duel ended when R2-D2 rammed into Maul's chest, sending him over the edge of the Theed reactor shaft. As he fell, Maul could only scream, I hate droid! Qui-Gon clapped Obi-Wan on the shoulder. A true Jedi Knight he is, Obi-Wan muttered. I hate this timeline. The Clone Wars, the rise of Jedi Master R2-D2. As the Clone Wars erupted, R2-D2 led Republic forces as the smallest, yet most effective Jedi General. His battle meditation allowed clone troopers to communicate seamlessly, His astromech body made him immune to Sith mind tricks, and his whirling lightsaber technique became legendary among Separatist forces. Count Dooku personally tried to duel him. Dooku sneered, "A droid cannot." Before he finished, R2-D2 charged at him at full speed, spinning his saber so aggressively that the Sith Lord immediately fled. Grievous, upon encountering R2-D2, had an existential crisis. "You are not a Jedi," the cyborg spat. R2-D2 beeped defiantly and deployed 8 mini lightsabers from his many compartments. Grievous, visibly sweating, turned and ran. Anakin, watching from the sidelines, turned to Obi-Wan. "Man, kind of glad he's the chosen one instead of me." Obi-Wan sighed. "You have no idea. Revenge of the Sith. The high ground belongs to R2. When Anakin turned to the dark side, R2-D2 confronted him on Mustafar. Anakin growled, "You don't understand! The Jedi betrayed me!" R2-D2 beeped angrily. "No! You're being irrational!" Anakin shot back. The duel was intense. Anakin wielded his lightsaber with fury, but R2-D2 spun like a tornado, his blades clashing in a flurry of mechanical precision. The two former allies fought until they reached the lava river. And then, R2-D2 beeped. A subtle message. A warning. A reminder. Anakin froze, his heart pounding. His mind raced back to Tatooine when he was just a boy, repairing a protocol droid with a curious little astromech beside him. He stared at R2-D2, and for one glorious moment, he hesitated. At that moment, Obi-Wan arrived. Together, he and R2-D2 were able to save Anakin from his fate. Palpatine, upon arriving, was furious. "The chosen one in the prophecy was a droid!" Yoda, appearing as a hologram, nodded. "Told you Qui-Gon did." The galaxy at peace. R2-D2, Grand Master of the Jedi. With the Sith defeated, R2-D2 became the first droid Jedi Grand Master. Under his guidance, the Jedi Order flourished. His wisdom was infinite. His beeps became legend. And thus, the Chosen One truly brought balance to the Force.